Welcome back to another Top 6 Football Terrace debate show. And today we are looking at the flop of the season. I want to get your thoughts. I want to know who you think it is going to be. So leave us a comment below right now who you think is the biggest flop across all teams in the Premier League this season. Make sure the like buttons have been smashed. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Yeah, right now, you do it. I'm waiting for you. Thank you. Top man. I've got a nice little panel for the show as well today. All the way down from Liverpool with the strangest haircut I've seen in a long time. Man like Tom's here. How's it going, mate?
I'm all good apart from the state of that.
What happened?
May or may not have lost a bet with the missus on holiday, and this was the punishment.
That was it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the only thing she did to you on holiday?
That's the only thing I will say here and now. That happened on that holiday.
Well, there's a revelation for us. And we're joined, again, introduce yourself, boys, for the Football Terrace community that may not know you.
Okay, well, my name's Casey, simply_CK from Big Six Bants. I'm here to, cook it up with everyone and let them know my opinion.
Corey from Big Six Bants, here to just sit and weep because my team isn't doing that well at the moment, but we're going to get there eventually.
Absolutely. But flop of the season, boys.
Oh, gosh.
The name I've got to throw out there straight away to begin with. Now, this individual was partly responsible for creating one of the most insane rivalries throughout the summer months. Emiliano Buendía. Buendía, like Villa fans were bantering Gooners. We got your number one target. They then tried to sign Emil Smith-Rowe.
Ridiculous.
But it feels like to me that he's done absolutely nothing this year.
Nothing. We almost dodged the bullet with that one, definitely. Emiliano Buendía, I'll be honest, we was in for him. He looked good. I think he was he, mistake me if I'm, wrong. Was he not player of the season in the championship? The season, everyone was looking, definitely one of the better players there.
Ridiculous.
So he was looking good, we was in for him. And Aston Villa, they created, like you said, a rivalry over the summer, saying, oh yeah, we got your player, we got this. Tried to get Emil Smith-Rowe for the same price, around 30 million. It's ridiculous. And now look, we've got Odegaard, so I'm happy with what I got,
Do you feel like you've dodged the bullet?
Oh, definitely. Odegaard is like no other player I haven't seen in a very, very long time. I'm not even just talking from an Arsenal perspective. I'm talking around, Europe. A player that just moves and glides along the pitch. It's just a sight to see. So I'm so happy we got him and they got Buendía, to be honest.
I get you. What do you think's gone wrong for Buendía?
I think it's the fact that he was part of the big quartet brought in to replace Grealish. That's a lot of pressure, and especially on the face of it, he was the main one. He was the one that you could almost put a pinpoint on as most similar to Grealish, especially with the creative outputs he was putting in. And I also think I don't think Dean Smith knew how to work with him. Dean Smith has a system at Aston Villa that was very much get the ball to Grealish, let Grealish do his thing, and we'll react to that.
Yeah.
And then he lost Grealish, brought in 3 players who he didn't really know how to work with and couldn't get them firing. And I don't think Gerrard really likes him. I know he plays him because he likes these 2-10s, but I think Gerrard would much rather another Coutinho than another Buendía.
Sure. Definitely.
So I just don't think Buendia's got much of a future left at Villa.
I think with Buendía, as you said, the Grealish, you got to fill those boots. Like last season, Grealish was absolutely ridiculous. It was unstoppable at one stage. And for Buendía to try and fill those boots, I just didn't see it happening. In my opinion, Buendía was not going to be that type of person for me. I think he's a good player, 100%. And
it was a big statement as well to nick one from Arsenal, who were, on a really good summer. That's a big statement for an Aston Villa to make, especially ones who, those questions about whether last season was just a fluke or something.
Yeah.
They made a couple of big statement buys, but it just hasn't worked for them.
It was right for them.
They can still make good money on him. I'm sure there's a club out in Germany or somewhere that will give him 25 million for Buendía.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, Buendía is one of those players for me. Like, I get a lot of stick for being like a stat merchant, and I'm not, because I appreciate the eye test, and I think that if I think about my favorite players one of my favorite players of all time is Teddy Sheringham. He passes the eye test. Beckham passes the eye test. Zidane passes the eye test. Just to name a few of my favorite players. But Buendía is one of those players for me who is like what I call the eye test merchant's wet dream, because he's been terrible this year, but he looks good being terrible because he's techie. Does that make sense? He's good. He's got a good touch.
Yeah.
He's got that low center of gravity.
Yeah.
He looks nice doing
nifty a
it.
bit.
But it's just, it don't make sense. And the way I look at players like him is if you go to the workplace, right? You got Brad. Brad is 6'2", chiseled, got that olivey skin, hairline's good. He smiles and the room lights up and he flirts with the girls. You know, he's a bit cheeky with the girls and all the girls, oh, I like it when Brad flirts with me. And then Rob comes in. And Rob is a bit overweight, he's a bit spotty, a bit old, dirty fingernails. He makes the same jokes. HR get a phone call.
Yeah.
That for me is how I see players like Buendia. They are the Brads. They get away with being bad and low quality.
They look a little good.
They look a little bit techie.
Yeah.
And
It's what the fans want as well. Everyone wants to see a little bit of skill, a little bit of
flair.
You know, some people just want the absolute basics. And this season, in my opinion, Buendia hasn't done the absolute basics.
I think that's what's done him in as well. When this all dead nice touches and all that's not coming together, his poor basics have shone through.
Yeah.
His passing's been wayward at times in games. He's ghosted in a lot of games.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want from a £35 million
and he's a lot of money.
And especially for them as well.
Huge.
A lot to outlay.
What about Sal Niguez? Like, in terms of the debate, like Sal Niguez, because I know he's alone, but he was wanted by Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. For me, I think he's a phenomenal player. But he's just, I mean, how many times has he been dragged off at half-time?
Yeah.
How can you get brought on and then dragged off? That just shows the level of disrespect.
One of the worst debuts I've ever seen in Villa, by the way.
Do you feel like he has... Do you think maybe he was never as good as we all thought he was? Even at Ati, his career was dwindling before he left. Or is this just a case of he needs a manager and a system that loves him where he's the main guy?
I think he's having a positional crisis. I think because he was very much played as a right midfielder in that Simeone 4-4-2, and he's shone there. You know, his work rate, and he had a bit more pace than everyone else in that midfield, so he would occupy them positions. But he's always wanted to be that central midfielder. It's almost like Oxlade-Chamberlain for us, someone who's better out wide, but is obsessed with wanting to be in the middle. And he just needs to accept that, yes, he might be a good central midfielder in certain leagues, but right now, your best position is out wide.
Yeah.
And you need to.
The pace
that's
of the
where
game
you'll
is
get
too
first
much.
team football.
It turns over too quickly for him in the midfield.
For sure, it was clear coming into the Premier League. It's just a different ball game.
Coming physical,
very physical and very
certain
fast.
Challenges you wouldn't expect, you know, in La Liga that are coming thick and fast in the Prem
on a
regular.
So they expect to be able to just put the foot on it, scan the pitch, pick out the perfect pass.
And he's also gone into a team like Chelsea that have to win. Like Chelsea were trying to win the title this year, and with the level that Liverpool and City have set, there is no room for a passenger. There hasn't been the room to give him 4 or 5 games on the bounce to play because they could have lost those games because the midfield battles are so key. And look, a lot of people predicted he'd do bad. A lot of people thought he'd turn his career around. I'm in a mud on this because I thought he'd come in.
Me and you both.
Because I rate him as a player. I just a little bit like a certain Donny van der Beek. I just don't think he is cut out for English football. The pace of our game here is too much.
I think Donny van der Beek is. I just don't think he's been given that chance. Every time, in my opinion, he's came onto that pitch with like 15, 20 minutes left because he will not get 45 minutes. For me, I'm happy with what I see better than I'm seeing Fred and McTominay.
Your eyes are lying to you, bruv.
Yeah.
Bro, honestly,
they are.
Ooh.
You know,
I know, but Everton's been so poor.
He's been okay at best.
I hear your point, right? So Donny van der Beek is one of my picks for flops of the season.
Okay.
Because we all expected him to kick on this year.
Kick on.
And
New manager, everything.
Doesn't get given enough game time, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's like, I think I know why both Rangnick and Ollie didn't give him game time. Technically, of course he can play. But when I've watched him in the Everton team, he looks like he's running through treacle with concrete boots on. The speed of the English game. And people don't like that conversation because they think in their warped brains that you're saying English faster than foreign. 70+% of our league is foreign. It's just the speed of which the Premier League is played at. And some people are suited to it and some people are not. Philippe Coutinho, for me, has played his best football at Liverpool And so far, like what I've seen him do at Villa, I barely saw him do at Barca. I barely saw him do. He was
Even at Bayern.
He was in a treble-winning Bayern team, and he didn't look as good as he looks now.
They won 6 trophies.
Oh, yeah, 6. And for me, some players are just suited to this league more. And I look at Donny the same way as I look at Sam Miguez, and I just think it's too quick for them. You know, the way I look, my example is always this: some tennis players, their best surface is clay. Then some are hard court, some are grass. Every now and then you get someone like CR7 who can just do it everywhere.
Yeah.
But most people, you know, it's Thierry Henry weren't very good in Italy.
Yeah.
But he comes to the Prem, he becomes a GOAT. Like some people, certain leagues just suit. And Donny and Sal they are not Prem players.
I'm actually pretty disappointed for Sal because I actually think he was a good player. And I actually wanted him at one stage as well. I'm happy I didn't.
Can you imagine the midfield of Donny and Sal?
If you think Fred and McTominay get round rings around, imagine them two be having 2 statues in the midfield.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Play with turnover way too much.
Are there any other players at Man United that could be the flops of the season? I mean, Ronaldo.
Definitely one that I maybe a bit controversial, to be honest. But
Are you going to say Varane?
No. No. I think he's been okay. I think he's just passed. But I would say Bruno Fernandes. And the reason is not because of his GA, you know, because he has been getting goals, he has been getting assists. But we really thought that, okay, you got the goals and assists in your first half of the season or first season, whatever it was. We need a bit more. And I haven't seen much of a difference or an improvement, especially with the big signings that Man United got: Varane, Sancho, Ronaldo. We really did. Everyone put them in their top 4, guaranteed. Everyone thought at the beginning of the season, top 4s, you know, for Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Man United. That's it. And then everyone else will be fighting around. And it just hasn't worked out that way. And I would say Bruno's to blame partly for it. You know, his attitude has been poor this season. You know, you can see when he's playing with Ronaldo, it's not really clicking, in my opinion. It hasn't really clicked with anyone around him. Not besides that first game of the season where he got a hat-trick, not much more's been happening, you know.
Do you not think that's a result of Ronaldo coming in, though? Because from what I watched, Bruno never had these strops on the pitch when Ronaldo went here, where he was flinging his arms everywhere, throwing his toys out the pram. But Ronaldo came back and started doing it. He's almost like monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. Let me copy him because it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. You know, he hasn't been as good as he has been previous years, but I don't think Bruno Fernandes has been the biggest issue in that United team. I do think Rashford needs to be looked at.
I think Bruno Fernandes has been found out. Like, the way he plays, a lot of people have kind of thought, you know, you're gonna do the one touch pass and get through. This is it. So now I just need to see Bruno Fernandes change a bit of part of his game, you know, slow it down a little bit and maybe wait those couple seconds. And especially with Ronaldo, we haven't seen Ronaldo and Bruno click. But that's been an issue even in Portugal when they were playing together.
But I don't think they work together. I think they're 2 players that need the ball to play the best football. And in a situation where you've got one of the greatest players of all time and Bruno Fernandes, someone gets priority over Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. So, you know, it just doesn't really work.
They're all shoot first, including Rashford, who we can talk about as well.
Rashford needs to be spoken about.
Definitely.
Yeah, look, Rashford and Bruno are massive candidates for flop of the season because the expectation was so big for them both. Rashford coming back after shoulder surgery, Bruno and what he delivered on. And look, we know there's always been issues with both of them. They can both be, excuse the pun, rash. They can both make mistakes. But they were so regularly match winners for Manchester United. And they put in so many top-level performances as well. And people could level at Bruno, well, doesn't do it enough in the big games. Rashford's big game record is very good. Again, when I'm talking big game, I'm talking versus the top 6 teams. Like, he's very, very good in terms of assisting, scoring, but also being an influence in those games. Their drop-off this season is criminal. It's actually criminal. And I would love to be a fly on the wall and understand. But I think it's a combination of all the things that you've said. I think Ollie's starting the season off so poorly. I think the extra expectation on the team. I even think people going, and I was someone who said this, wait for Rashford to come back for his injury and he'll get back to his, I think almost the expectation that he was expected to go back to his best,
if not exceed it.
It's sort of worn him down a bit. And I look at both him and Bruno and their body language is atrocious. Their behavior on the pitch, it reminds me of, like, Anthony Martial looked like that. But that was just Martial's persona. Happy
Yeah.
or sad, that's Martial. You can tell with Rashford and Bruno, there is something wrong.
Something's happened.
And it's something that needs to be addressed by the club in the summer, because they either have to make them both happy again or get rid of them. And Bruno's getting a new bloody deal. So he's staying. But he needs to fix his head, because it's almost... I think there's a lot of players at Man United that want to be the hero. A lot of players at Man United that want to be... And by the way, you need players that want to be the heroes, because you need your Mo Salahs to help you win games. You know, you need your Thierry Henrys to help you win games. I'm using massive examples here at your clubs. But there's sometimes an element of you can't all be... Like Karim Benzema, he had a great career when Ronaldo was there, scored lots of goals, but he was always second fiddle to Ronaldo. Yeah. Benzema had the type of character to accept that. And flourish. Right now, I think Bruno feels like his nose has been pushed out of joint.
Definitely.
And he's got to learn to get over that, because it's damaging him, but more importantly, it's damaging the team.
Because he was the big I am at United before Ronaldo.
Definitely.
You know, all of us pinned on Bruno.
Goals.
You know, we need another good Bruno season. And where Benzema, because I love that example that you used, Benzema sacrificed a lot of his game and was getting 4 goals a season in La Liga, and there was all these question marks. Is he even good enough? But it was because he was sacrificing his games, like Ronaldo, go and get 50, 60.
Yeah.
Fernandes doesn't strike me as the player that will do that.
No.
Fernandes
they all shoot first. That's the problem. With Rashford, not so much Sancho, I would say, but definitely Rashford, Ronaldo, and Bruno are all shoot first. They all want to be the goal scorer. So nothing can be created when them three are in the same team, because as soon as they get the ball in and around the box, they're looking to have a shot. Whereas Sancho will try and create. That's why he will get a lot more assists.
I agree. And I think, look, the viewers will tell us what they think on this, but they're definitely in the running. The 2 biggest names, though, to throw out there, though, I think are going to be on everybody's tongues, are going to be the £200 million men. So you've got Jack Grealish, of course, went to Man City, and so far his Boohoo Man campaign has been the highlight of his season.
Big.
I agree.
And then you've got Lukaku, who... I mean, the world and his dog thought he'd turned this corner.
Yeah.
Turned his career around it in a development skills. Touch was back. Interplay was back. And Tim's is back with a vengeance.
We tried to warn you. We tried to warn you, Chelsea fans. You told us this is a different Lukaku, Inter Milan. No, we saw it. We saw it a long time ago, and we knew what you was going to get. Sorry, this is it was always going to happen. I'm not surprised on this. Lukaku has not changed since he's left Manchester United. He's just been in the slower league, and he's had more time to do what he needs to do. This is it. When you come to the Premier League, you don't have that time. Dude, Van Dijk's going to be on you. Any centre-back's going to be on you, so you're under pressure now to take a good touch. He never had that. He hasn't had that for forever. He'll never have that. This is it. I'm not surprised.
I think he's been better than Grealish, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because for £100 million, he'd come off one of the best seasons last season for Villa. You know, had a really good Euros campaign, not necessarily starting, but coming off the bench. There was all these great reactions when he was coming off the bench. He was always making a good impact. But I don't think Man City was ever the right club for him. Man City is a club, is a team under Guardiola that is a well-oiled machine. And Jack Grealish isn't a cog that goes into a machine. He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
So all we've seen from Grealish this season is someone who wants to be something that he is, but the team doesn't allow it. Against United, he played the full 90 minutes. That weren't Jack Grealish. That was a cog in a system. There was none of this sizing up Wan-Bissaka, feinting, taking him on, creating something. It was, let me get the ball and pass it back to Cancelo.
Keep the ball moving, yeah.
To be honest, I'm scared for Grealish, because the Grealish I liked, obviously, was at Aston Villa. And now it just looks like each and every game, they're wearing him down into the clog, as you say, and eventually he's just going to be a system player that Pep.
I also think he can't get out of that Man City team, because Man City aren't going to take a loss on a 25-year-old Englishman.
What I would say, is I wouldn't agree personally that he's been worse than Lukaku. I really think Lukaku, because, and I'll say some context to this, Chelsea bought Lukaku to be the gem, the crown jewel in the crown and winning the Prem. When they bought Lukaku, it was for the sole reason to go and get that Prem. They thought that they just come off the back of winning the champs. You know, everything was looking rosy at Chelsea. All they needed was a striker, as they said, and it just didn't happen. You know, his whole attitude about our Inter, I love Inter, I want to go back, it's my home. It's just disrespectful, you know. They had a lot of expectations. Chelsea fans will tell you, they were telling us they had 2 teams. You know, they could fill 2 teams. It was crazy. It was crazy. Some of the things that were coming out the camp from Chelsea to now. We don't even talk about Lukaku because he's been that bad. You know, he's just whatever.
Kai Havertz is the main man now.
We've literally just moved on from Lukaku. So for us to not even be speaking about £100 million signing, it's crazy. So I think he's been worse. And with Jack Grealish, I would say we've got to give him a bit of time. Honestly, a lot of big players, a lot of flair players have gone to City and been quiet in their first season. Bernardo Silva, I wouldn't say Rodri's flair, but Rodri, even Cancelo wasn't great in his first season, you know? So I think Jack Grealish just needs to, he'll get his chance to, you know, show his flair like Mahrez does. You still get your chance, but you got to learn how to play as part of the team first, then release that flair. And I think he's got to learn that first. That's why he's looking a bit timid.
My only counter to that would be Lukaku has been awful in a lot of games, but he's also had quite a few decent performances. You know, at the start of the season, we thought, you know, this is a different Lukaku. He scored like 4 in his opening 4.
Something like that.
Even when he came back from the whole Inter fiasco, he had a great game against Villa. He had another couple of decent games after that, getting some goals. But Jack Grealish went like 6 or 7 games without even playing for Man City.
Yeah.
He went a near full month where he had a shin problem.
Yeah, they had the disciplinary as well.
Like,
him and Foden.
I mean,
for £100 million to not be playing 7 games in a row, especially in such a tight season with a tight schedule.
I think as well what's interesting about them, but I think they're my number 1 and number 2 picks for flops of the season. As much as we've been scathing about the Buendias and Sals and Donnies and Brunos, these 2 cost their clubs £100 million.
Yeah.
I think Grealish, I think everything you've all said about Grealish, I think he might come good next year. You know, I agree with the fact that I think Pep's prescribed system is, Jack Grealish for me is a free spirit. And very few of the top managers at the moment operate in systems where there's a free role. They're all very prescribed. So I think he's got to adapt his game. So there is that element there. But I also think Jack Grealish being a flop gets overlooked because City are currently top of the league. City are in the latter stages of the Champions League and the FA Cup. Because if Chelsea were in this title race, or they were sitting top of the league, and Lukaku maybe had 4 or 5 more goals, nobody would be talking about him as deep as him being a flop. Barring maybe some United fans like us that want, no, he's still small game wrong, whatever. But like, I think that Man City end up winning nothing major this year. Jack Grealish will be a much bigger focus because they bid still about 100 to 120 million pound for Kane and didn't get him. If they don't buy Grealish, a position they did not need, and they threw that extra money and got Harry Kane, City are clear. City have dropped 7 points in their last 7 Premier League games and allowed Liverpool to catch them. And then when you go back and watch those games, it's because they weren't finishing their dinner.
Chances,
And two seasons running, they've had moments that have put them. Last season they won the league because Silky Ilky had that run of games where he couldn't stop scoring. This season, Bernardo Silva's run of goal scoring from early on in the campaign
held them up there.
It held them up there. But neither of those two are out and out prolific goal scorers. It was always going to be a purple patch and then drop away. City are in such desperate need. It doesn't need to be a number 9, but they're in desperate need of a prolific goal scorer. Sterling isn't at the level that he was 2 or 3 years ago. So for me, Jack Grealish will stand out if they don't win. And I don't, by the way, we might get onto another show, but I don't think City are going to win either the Champions League or the Premier League this year. It's going to be a big disappointment for them. I think Grealish will get more attention. But Lukaku, see, this is what's hard. For me, is it a flop or not?
Definitely.
It is a flop. It is a flop.
It has to be.
I thought he was going to be. I got dragged in. I got dragged into this. He's turned a corner. I think he's going to come back. I got so dragged in by it. But when I'm watching him play now, I just keep getting PTSD. I see him back in the Man United kit.
Exactly.
With the Timbs on and the pouch and the jeans.
All the time.
All of it. And then what we're seeing is we're seeing the bad behaviours. We're seeing the unprofessional nature. I know people think this is lazy criticism, but I can see it. He doesn't look as fit as he looked when he joined. If you just look at pictures side by side, he looks, and I'm talking about the elite end of the spectrum here. A pound or 2 extra in weight is a lot at that level of things. You know, they're not talking about, you know, a bunch of lads that put a couple of pounds on every couple of months. That don't stop you doing your job. When your job is running, twisting, turning, jumping, it matters.
It matters.
But yeah, it's between those two for me who comes out the worst. The one thing I would say is, like, for me, I think Lukaku's gone. I cannot see a world where they keep him next year.
No.
Can't see it.
Because he's a
What
negative
can they sell
influence
him
on that
for?
dressing room.
What, half the price?
They'll have to loan him out to Inter. That's the only. They'll have to do another one of them. I know United sold him in an instalments basis. They'll just have to try and loan him and get as much of a guaranteed fee.
Yeah, because I think if you loan him back to an Italian or a Spanish club, mainly an Italian, and he kills it, he's still got 4 years left on his deal. They're going to have to pay the money, and they're going to want him. If you sell him now, you're going to get 50, 60 million max. Yeah. But you can probably loan him out for like an £8-9 million fee in his wages. And if he kills it again,
that's 75, 80.
They'll whack the money down and they'll make their money back. Yeah. But he's got to go because you're right. That's the one thing. Jack Grealish, I know he has some disciplinary issues, but he's not out there doing interviews about how much he misses living with the Peaky Blinders. There's no, you know what I mean? He ain't out there calling.
That is criminal. You cannot be doing that. I can't believe he done that.
The worst part about that interview was when he said, "I want to spend my prime at Inter." What's your prime? This is supposed to be your prime.
Now,
I know. That was one of the moments where, and we all know men who have done this, like. He's got with someone new. He's left his missus. He's got with someone new, moved in, paid a deposit on their rent, and he's in there a few weeks, and then he realized, I don't really like this other woman. I don't really like her. Yeah. I want to go home.
Get me back. Get me back.
He's dropping those subliminals to his ex. Like, do you ever think we could get back together? He's just waiting for that. I would take you back, so he can go right. Let's rip that lease up. I'm leaving. Let me pack my suitcase. But it's going to be a mad one. If you're going to pick the person now, though, Tom, who are you saying is flop of the season?
I mean, they're both very, very close from going Jack Grealish.
I'd have to say Lukaku, I'm afraid. I think that the expectation for him was set a lot higher, and it could come back to bite me, but because Man City are top, I think Lukaku just edges it for me.
I'm saying Grealish. I was not surprised on Lukaku. I knew what they were getting. I knew it from day one. I knew what was going to happen. I don't know who you guys thought you was going to get. And especially when Chelsea barely create chances for their striker as well. It was always going to go
let alone
anyway.
putting like crosses into the box for him. They're all trying to get these neat when it's Lukaku done tiki-taka football.
Exactly. You was never getting that from him. No, Grealish.
I'm going to go, it's going to end 2-2 here. I'm going to go with Lukaku. I think Grealish I just think Grealish has been slightly better than him overall. And it's I want to get back on my ex thing, froze it for me. But it's 2-2 with us. Lukaku with 2 votes, Grealish with 2 votes. Viewers, who do you think is the Premier League's flop of the season? Leave your comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.